All right, Loud Esmond here, betting in the break, where we are in the break between games. And this is actually the most perfect Saturday we've had so far, with like kind of almost a total pause in meaningful games, and then a bunch of meaningful games coming up, kicking off in the next 15 to 20 minutes to 45 minutes. And joining me, of course, we have Sniper Wes from Winners and Winers and Sniper Picks at the Sniper Picks as well. Scott Keyport, he is the manager of Little Creek Casino Sportsbook here in the great Pacific Northwest, where I am located. It's actually the closest really good sportsbook to me, and it's where I do my personal betting, because here in Washington, the only way to legally bet is to actually go inside or be on property, at least, at a licensed casino. So that's how it works here in Washington State, and, I'm all about keeping it legal, so that's where I do my betting. So the impression I had, because of the games that I was following of the trends earlier today, was that it was a pretty dog-heavy day. But as it turns out, once I started getting a little more analysis from Wes and Scott, I was kind of myopically fixed on the games that I was interested in. And no, not so much. It's kind of a little bit all over the board. But what this show is all about is whether you've grown your bankroll earlier in the day, or whether you have to get even or try to get well, as they say in the gambling business. This is your show that's going to give you the opportunity to do that. Some new picks going into the late games to help you get right. So I actually have the first two picks of the night, because two of my picks kick off in about 13 minutes at 4:30. And that is, of course, the big kahuna of the night. Georgia and Alabama. I like a couple of picks in this game. I think it's going to be a rock fight. I don't think you're going to see a lot of huge plays. So both teams can play defense. Georgia really struggled on offense a couple of weeks ago. I'm not sure how much I believe in their offense. Alabama, I like their offense a little better, but man, that Georgia defense is hellacious. So the first thing I've got for you is I like the under 42.5. Wes, your thoughts?
Yeah, Georgia definitely has an elite defense, and they've, as you referenced, they've struggled offensively. That game against Kentucky, which is brutally ugly. Carson
total
Beck,
of 13 points they got.
Yeah, Carson Beck, he's a decent quarterback, but I mean, a lot of people thought he was going to be elite, but I mean, he just looks like more of a game manager at this point. Yeah, I don't think that I don't think he's as elite as they cracked him up to be, sort of. But Jalen Milroe, I mean, he's been great. He has a 207 QBR, and he runs for 60 a game. So, but I do agree. I think you have NFL players all over the field, and I think I like the under as well.
Scott, is there any trend there? Where are people on that bet in the public?
With the under, the handle is significantly in favor of Georgia, but ticket count is kind of 50-50. So that typically indicates, the public was split on it. And I don't know if it's sharp money or at least big money is on Georgia. So you can decide if, we can't always tell right. if deep pockets are smart pockets.
Right. And is that Georgia money line, or is a lot of people taking Georgia minus the 2 points? I think that's where it landed, right, Wes?
On point spreads and money line, it's pretty even.
Okay.
It's a little in favor of Alabama on the point spread. Money line is pretty 50-50. So the one that has a real clear favor right now is actually the over with the handle. But
so we are decidedly against the public in this one, Wes. So
at least from my stats. So that doesn't mean that's everywhere.
Right. All right. And the second game that I've got that is going off at 4:30 is this Ohio State at Michigan State. And I've seen a lot talking about the history between these two teams and some epic battles that they've had. Yeah, not so much. Michigan State is not ready for prime time yet. It's a program that's on a rebuild. Hey, they had a nice win against Maryland. They've hung tough in some games. Ohio State is going to be way too much for them. Now, there's been a lot of teams that struggled earlier today, and it looked like they weren't going to cover, and then they exploded. like USC was. Wisconsin was hanging around, and then the superior athletes of USC just took over the game. And that's what I think is going to happen here. It's going to be a little close early, maybe through the first half, but Ohio State's just got too much for Michigan State at this point, where Michigan State is in their program. Wes?
Yeah, I would agree. Looking at the line history as well, and it looks like, well, I don't know, DraftKings, it actually came down. It favors Michigan State. It opened at 25 at DraftKings, right. Went down to 23.5. But you got other books that were with the other way, like FanDuel. It opened at 22.5. It's up to 23.5. So, kind of like Scott was saying, you don't know if it's sharp pockets or deep pockets moving that money.
Right. And Scott, what are you seeing, if anything, there in that game?
One for us there is the over-under is just a landslide. I mean, it's almost everything we have, both handle and tickets, on the over, which is a little funny to me because with the spread like that, and like you're saying, I feel like Ohio State's going to be in control there. So
what is the number on the over?
We're at 48.5 right now. I think it's been around 49.
Yeah, my question there is, Wes, how many points is Michigan State going to score? 10?
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely going to struggle with that Ohio State defense for sure. I would lean to the over too, and I know it's a public play, and I hate playing with the public. I like to fade the public, but I mean, last week I was on Ohio State for the over, and I think they covered the over on their own. Like they didn't. The other team didn't have to put any points up. So I mean, it's just a team that's an offensive juggernaut, and I don't want to get in front of that train. So
yeah, gotcha.
I'd lean over.
Right. Minus 23.5 for me means that I'm really sort of automatically leaning towards the over, because if they're going to win by 24 or more points, that means they've got to score at least 35 if Michigan State scores 10. And that puts me pretty close to the over. So I think, if you were going to do a dual ticket here, same game parlay, you'd have to go minus 23.5 and over, right, Wes?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that's about the only way that would work. Okay. You've got some 5 o'clock games you want to talk about. 5 o'clock West Coast, 8 o'clock Eastern, correct?
Yes, I do. I have 3 games, in fact. And I'll just run down rapid fire style because I know we were limited on time. So I'm looking at Air Force in Wyoming. So this might be the lowest total on the entire board. It's 33.5 is what I see on several books right now. But, Air Force is 1-2 and Wyoming is 0-4. Sorry about that, Loud, because I know.
Yeah, my Wyoming Cowboys not doing too much this year, but at least Notre Dame won.
I keep saying that every week. Sorry about Wyoming, but
all right.
You know what's funny? Neither team's covered a spread yet. I mean, there's been 7 games played between the two teams, and no team has covered a spread yet. But I still like the under. I just, who's going to score in this game? That's my question. Wyoming's offense is terrible. Air Force, I mean, they've only put up 10 points versus FBS teams in 2 games. Wyoming has scored 38 points in 3 FBS matchups. So I just don't think anyone's going to score. I think points are at a premium, and that's why I like the under. It's really low, but it's low for a reason. Under 33.5 there. I like Utah tonight. I think that's at about 7 o'clock. Utah minus the points. So obviously we don't know about Cam Rising. Last I looked, it's still going to be Isaac Wilson starting for Utah. But, he played pretty well. By the way, Isaac Wilson is the younger brother of Zach Wilson on the Broncos now, the quarterback, the NFL quarterback.
Oh, I bet the Jets are interested in that kid.
Yeah. Imagine that, right? But he actually looked pretty good last week, and they got the win over Oklahoma State 22-19. And if you remember, Arizona beat these guys. They beat Utah last year. It was a big number. It was 42-18 they beat them. So Utah's got a lot of revenge from that loss last year. And, even though there's new players on the team, like people say, yeah, but there's new coaches and there's new players. But boosters remind these kids that, hey, we got blown out last year by these guys. We want to take it to them and run up the score if we can, right? So I like Utah there, minus the points, minus 8.5, I believe. It's a little scary because the line's actually moving toward Arizona, but I just think that's because of the quarterback news, honestly, because of, they don't know who's going to start. Cincinnati and Texas Tech, I like over 59. Line's been headed toward Cincinnati all week from a side perspective, but it's actually moved 2 points. DraftKings had it at 5, and it's all the way down at 3 now. Both teams are 3-1. Since he comes in off a 34-0 win over Houston, man, Houston is just terrible right now. But this is the first matchup. These teams have never played each other, so it's the first time they've ever played. Texas Tech just beat ASU 30-22. They blew out North Texas 66-21, so they can score a lot of points. Texas Tech's defense is average. It's not great and it's not terrible, but they do give up 280 yards passing per game. And remember this too, Texas Tech, they're number 1 in the nation in passing attempts. They throw it 45 times a game, which is a lot, right? So what happens when you have a pass happy team like that? You either, number 1, you get chunk yardage, a lot of it. Number 2, it's an incomplete pass, which stops the clock, which helps your over because the clock's not consistently running. And number 3, you get turnovers. You could maybe get a pick 6, you maybe get a turnover and the other side of the field. So I like the over. It's 59. It was 59.5 earlier, but I think there's going to be a lot of points here tonight between Texas Tech and Cincinnati. Those are my points.
One of the games that I had earlier this week, I was on Army to cover against Temple, and of course they did easily. And then last night on Friday night, now I can pick this game for winners and whiners, but I actually can't bet on it because you cannot bet on the college teams in Washington State as a Washington resident. It's a quirk in the law that the way that they wrote it here it is verboten to bet on college games. So I actually had a pick on the Scarlet Knights minus 2.5 at winners and whiners, and sure enough, they covered. I mean, I hate picking against teams that I like, but and I generally stay away from betting on, like, I don't bet on Notre Dame games because I can't see it clearly. I'm too much of a fan. Just like the Saints, I can't. And teams that I hate, like the Kansas City Chiefs or the Raiders, I just can't bring myself to not hate them. And so my judgment is clouded. So there's, a piece of advice for you beginning bettors is don't bet emotionally. It doesn't work out well. So I've got a late game pick, which is Oregon is going to the Rose Bowl to face UCLA. Sniper, you're down in LA, La La Land. Have you seen a game or lots of games at the Rose Bowl?
I believe it or not, I have never been to the Rose Bowl. As an LA resident, I can say I've never been there. So
okay, so
I hear it's actually that's not true. I've been for concerts, but I have never been for a game.
Never even for you. Okay, UCLA, because of most campuses, the stadium is on or at least adjacent to the campus. Right. The Rose Bowl is nowhere near UCLA.
Pasadena is not near Westwood.
All right, so we've got Bronco Devil here says he's going to take Texas Tech QB over 35.5 attempts. So I guess you and Bronco Devil are simpatico on that one, Wes.
Yeah. I mean, they're averaging 45. Why would you not?
Yeah. So where I was heading with this is UCLA has a terrible non-existent home field advantage. The last time I saw Notre Dame against UCLA game, Notre Dame fans way outnumbered the fans of UCLA. Yeah. It was embarrassing for UCLA. It's sort of like going to see a Chargers game in LA. It's 80% Raiders fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Oregon is a juggernaut offensively. It's a big number, but I got to be minus 25.5 for them at UCLA. It just, UCLA is, again, it's a rebuilding program. They don't have a lot of great athletes. Oregon just going to steamroll them. Now, of course, we can bet on Oregon games in Washington. So, Scott, what's the action look like there?
Well, we're sort of backwards here with our book. Most books, I think, are really going to need UCLA to try and cover. We got action the other way. So we're specifically for our book, we're rooting for Oregon in that game. Just a quirk of where we're at and who's betting with us.
And think about that. Somebody from Washington rooting for an Oregon team. That never happens.
Yeah.
No. All All right.
And, I was looking at that Arizona Utah game, and it's sort of that line moved enough that if you have bettors out there that grabbed Arizona early we had them at -12 early in the week. Now you're at 8. You might be able to change your mind and get a middle in there, which is always fun.
Yeah.
All right, so that's our picks. There's several other games, but one of the things that I think a lot of people, at least when I was first sports betting, I felt like a need to pick all kinds of games, and it's not a very good strategy. If you don't have a really strong feel about a game, stay away from it. And honestly, this NFL weekend, this is the weekend where I think the books really have the advantage on the bettor, because there's a bunch of games that honestly, I look at them and I shake my head and I just can't make heads or tails of it, Wes. There are weeks like that, right?
I agree. I mean, the more and more data that comes in, and obviously every week that goes by, you get more and more data to go off of. And I mean, as advantageous as it is for us, the people, putting up the money and wagering the games, it's advantageous to the book too. So it's a two-way street. But yeah, I would agree with you. It's kind of a tough week. The NFL too, to be honest with you, it's kind of a tough.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Is the NFL is Saints Falcons?
Yeah,
3 points either way. Who knows? I don't know. I mean,
if you want an easy winning NFL bet, then bet chalk on the WNBA. You'll be good then, because the WNBA just goes chalk nonstop. Just take a week off the NFL and go WNBA.
Steelers Colts. I actually have a premium pick on that. It's the points. So if you want that one from me, Jaguars Texans. I have a premium pick there. Any thoughts on that game, Wes?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say look out for Jacksonville this week because nobody wants anything to do with them after that performance in Buffalo. And I get it and I understand. But there is a reason the money's moving toward them. I mean, you could have got Jacksonville at 7, I think, earlier this week, and it's a 5.5 now. So the money's going toward Jacksonville, and I think they're actually going to show up here, to be honest with you. I think Trevor Lawrence is hearing the whole, he may be a bust thing. And I think Jacksonville's going to show up. They're embarrassed about what happened last week. It's very ugly, but I like Jacksonville here.
One of the stories of the year is Sam Darnold and his playing for the Vikings. It's funny. If you're a Jets fan, you got to be sick because Geno Smith is winning with Seattle and Sam Darnold looks like he was a number 1 pick. Wait, he was, and he went to the Jets. The NFL is one of those games where, and I tell people, if Tom Brady had been drafted by the Cleveland Browns, we'd have no idea who he was.
That's true.
So it really matters where you go. But that's, Vikings, Green Bay. I'm kind of shocked Green Bay is a 3-point favorite there, given how the Vikings are playing.
Well, Jordan Love is confirmed. He's playing tomorrow, which is why it's probably
he's not going to be 100%.
Maybe not. You may be right about that. But I just think there's a lot of public love for him. And Minnesota, they're scrappy though. That defense is really, really good with Flores. Flores has them playing really, really well. And I have no thought or opinion really. I didn't release this as a premium play just because it's a tough one to figure out. Like I said, it's a tough week in the NFL.
Yeah, and here's another one. Bengals Panthers. Who the hell knows?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah,
no
Rams Bears. The Rams came back and beat the 49ers out of nowhere with a bunch of people you've never heard of. And can they keep doing that? And then the Bears being favored, Caleb Williams is terrible.
Yeah,
so
the Bears
I don't understand that line.
The Bears should not be favored versus many teams.
The Broncos Jets, that opened at 7. It's now Jets -9, which means the money's going. Where the money's going in that game. Eagles Buccaneers, another one where I just shake my head and say I have no idea. Commanders Cardinals, who knows? And here's the thing: weeks like this, if you don't have a really solid feel for a game, don't bet it. Keep the money in your pocket. It's money you haven't lost.
Yes, indeed.
It's
like I said last week. You can't win if you don't play, but you also can't lose if you don't play too, right?
Let's see. Bronco Devil says Broncos Jets way to go is under 39. And Adrian, I don't understand what you're asking. You just put NFL or NCAAF, and I'm confused by that. But Bronco Devil, again, he's got Texas Tech QB over 35.5 attempts. Broncos Jets under 39. All right, we keep this short so you can get to the betting window. This has been betting on the break, betting in the break. I am Loud Esmond, your host. Sniper West joins us. Follow him at the Sniper Picks. You can find both of our premiums at Winners and Winers. And if you're here in the Pacific Northwest, great place to go bet, especially if you're a beginner bettor. Really friendly, nice sports book. People that are very nice, won't bark at you if you don't understand and have to ask a question. Scott Keyport joining us from Little Creek Casino, as he does most weeks here on Betting in the Break. Okay, tomorrow night, Wes and I will be coming to you live together from the Empire Strikers location, where there's a Mexico USA Major Arena Soccer League indoor soccer game. So he and I from the luxury suite will be doing the show at 4:15 tomorrow night, and the game kicks off at 4:30. So you may hear some roaring in the background as we're trying to finish out the show.
Hey, we're gonna have to find some odds on that game, Loud.
All right, we'll have to find some. All right, I'm Loud Esmond with Winners and Winers. Thanks for being here, everybody. Until tomorrow.